What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Mother's Day and a very happy Sacred Sunday to you. I am Love Coach Scott Katamas, and I just realized that I gotta get this a little bit off center there. Welcome. It's a beautiful, beautiful day that we all honor our mother. And in a moment, when I lead our meditation, I'm going to invite you to be dropping into connecting to your human mother and also to our big mother, our earth mother, Gaia. I just want to kind of set that for you in a moment when I do my opening meditation. That's where I want us to go. But I also want to welcome all of you who are watching. I see a lot of our beloveds who are regular members of the Global Peace Tribe that are in the Zoom room. And hopefully we're going to see you. Turn on your cameras, especially when we move and groove to Shar's music. And what are we going to be doing today? Well, I have a really unique guest. I'm just getting to know him. He calls himself Airy in the Air. He is an extreme sports guy and a fascinating human being. He was referred by a mutual friend of ours, Daniel Schmachtenberger. And so we're going to get to know all about Airy and his approach to life. And he asks an interesting question. What does it mean to re-dignify love? So that's what we're going to be talking about with Airy. And we also have two videos made just for today from Sri Ram down in Ecuador, all about tools for Ascension. So it's going to be kind of a unique combination. We're also going to do a little bit of light touch today. So definitely join us. Now, I want to acknowledge all of you that are already in the Zoom room, but I also want to acknowledge those of you that are watching on YouTube channels, all the Facebook groups and pages that we go out to. Thank you, John and Summer Raymer. I know you can hear me right now because you're busy putting us on all the different Facebook groups and pages that we go out on. So thank you for that. Over 150 groups and pages sometimes. So thank you. So if you are watching on one of those other platforms, also hello to Humanity's team, hello to Conscious Awakening Network. If you're watching this one of those ways, that's wonderful. But I want to encourage you, come on in and join us. Come on in and join the Global Peace Tribe. It's really easy to do that. Just go to globalpeacetribe.com, globalpeacetribe.com, and that's where you'll find our website. You can learn all about who we are and what we do, and then click register for the new season. We do 3 or 4 shows every week. And every show is filled with inspiration, fascinating guests, wonderful music, and you'll get the links to our Zoom room for all of our shows from now through the end of June. And that's a lot of shows and a lot of wonderful opportunities to connect with us. So definitely join. For example, here's what we did this week. On Wednesday night, we had a show all about, can authentic spirituality mix with politics? And that was a really, as Trish, my co-host, said, it was spicy. It was definitely a spicy conversation. And then last night, beautiful show, all about what is your role in the Holo movement in this awakening world. And then here's today's show, all about tools for redignifying love and creating ascension. So join us. You'll get the links to the Zoom room. And today is going to be an interactive day. We love hearing from you, our audience. So please do join the Global Peace Tribe. We also do retreats. We've recently had retreats in LA and Sedona, looking at new ones. And come and join us. It's a beautiful group of people. It's an amazing community. It's truly a global peace tribe. I know, looking at who's with us already today, we've got friends in Ecuador, British Columbia, all over the United States, down under in Australia. Come and join us. All right. I do want to acknowledge that beloved brother Omashar is here. And in a moment, he's going to play a little bit of music. But for today's opening meditation, I'm going to screen share. Whoops. I'm going to screen share this image. And you know, this image is the most famous image in the world, apparently. More people have looked at this image. I lost it for a moment. I had it right here. Let's do that again. Here we go. So the most famous image in the world, this image of planet Earth. And let's just take a look at that. Before we start the meditation, because on this Mother's Day, let's honor our big mother, our Pachamama, Gaia, this beautiful blue-green planet that is our home. And I certainly want us to all honor our human mothers. God bless them for giving birth and life to us. Let's also honor our big mother. So I invite you, if you wish, to close your eyes, or if you prefer, keep your eyes open, looking at this beautiful image of our big mama. And just start breathing at your own pace, just allowing my voice to gently guide you. And on every exhale, just release any energies that no longer serve you, maybe thoughts, maybe distractions. Let that all go. And on every inhale, breathing in the beautiful prana, the life force from our Mother Earth. That air that is alive. How appropriate that we have Airy in the air as our guest today. So let's really celebrate the air that we breathe, giving us life. And we give thanks for life. And on Mother's Day, we give thanks to our human mother who went through all that she went through to give us life. Pregnancy is not easy. It's hard. And giving birth is very difficult, very challenging. And then raising a child, and then raising a teenager, and the lifelong commitment of our human mother to us. Thank you to our human mothers. And now that we are adults, we can hold in our heart both appreciation for our human mother and really comprehend the profound, ongoing, every breath relationship to our Pachamama, Gaia. Thank you, Mother Earth, for this food that we eat, for this water that we drink, for this air that we breathe, for imagining us into existence through our human parents. And I'm going to be silent now for a minute or two, and I invite everybody to just offer gratitude to your human mother and your big mother in your own unique way. Namaste.
When flowers grow, dripping with dew, and rivers flow in sapphire blue, I suddenly know what a full God I knew. I'm a tear that's lost fear of the ocean. And when autumn sun kisses my cheek, whilst cool winds come from mountains peak, with poems on my tongue but no wish to speak, I'm a tear that's lost fear of the ocean. I'm a tear that's lost fear of the ocean. Sweet water, when I give you my heart, I already start to feel better. My sweet water, won't you send me your love forever and ever and ever, forever and ever and ever. Oh, when tender hands trace memories where powdered sands meet temperate seas, I don't understand, but I love mysteries. I'm a tear that's lost fear of the ocean. And when evening stars shine all around, my grieving heart's no longer down. And things that were lost, that's where true hope's found. I'm a tear that's lost fear of the ocean. I'm a tear that's lost fear of the ocean. Sweet water, when I give you my heart, I already start to feel better. Sweet water, won't you send me your love forever and ever and ever. My sweet water, when I give you my heart, I already start to feel better. Sweet water, won't you send me your love forever and ever and ever. I'm a tear that's lost fear of the ocean. I'm a tear that's lost fear of the ocean. I'm a tear that's lost fear of the ocean.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. It's going to
So-
go with you. Quick twinkle.
Quick twinkle, that sweet water could have been sweet mother. So when you give me your heart, I already start to feel better. So thank you. Happy Mother's Day, everybody.
Mm. I got the idea, Omashar, to ask people if they want to post photos of their mother in the chat box. And so I'll kind of get us off to a start since I have the ability to show.
Oh,
This is one of the last photos taken of my mom and I. She passed about 15 years ago. So I appreciate my human mom, Ariel. There she is.
Ariel.
Ariel was her name. And of course, as I said in my opening meditation, to our big mama, Pachamama. So honoring both the human mother and the big mama. And thank you for that beautiful song, Omashar. Well, we have an interesting guest today. I get to introduce you to Airy in the Air. And he is an accomplished adventure athlete, a filmmaker, and a philosopher. We'll probably get mostly the philosopher today. He creates podcasts all about humanity's future and human potential. And his interviews with philosophers and innovators about the next iteration of human civilization, as well as his interviews with world-class extreme sports athletes, bring higher perspectives about life and reality. So welcome, Ari, to the Awakening World.
Thanks for having me, Scott.
Well, first of all, tell us a little bit about what does it mean to be an adventure athlete?
Well, my life as an adventure athlete started by being the middle of three boys in Central Oregon. And Central Oregon is just ripe with nature and adventure in every direction. It started with skiing as a kid. My parents worked at the local ski hill, and I skied with my brothers and did flips. And then I learned to slackline, balance on rope essentially. And I soon took that to heights. So a sport called highlining, where I balance across slack lines high over cliffs and canyons. And then eventually learned to paraglide. And all of the different things that I do have kind of built on each other and taught me interesting things and have led to the next sport. So now it's base jumping and all kinds of different things, adventure racing, the whole deal.
Wow. Now, in your adventure racing, when you're having those experiences, since this is the Sacred Sunday show and it's a non-denominational, it's all about the different forms of spiritual connection. Tell us about your unique personal spiritual connection as you're having these really unique experiences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great question, because my connection to nature and reality through the atmosphere and or just the laws of physics, I think is my entryway into introspection or spirituality or whatever you want to kind of call it. There is just the word that comes up is harsh. There's a harsh reality to the way things are, and it's also a beautiful reality of just the way things are, the isness of existence. And when you are flying or when you are skiing really fast, when your body is at stake, there is undeniability of the way things are, and learning to appreciate them and to dance with them as they are and not try to squirm out of that isness is a beautiful skill.
Mm-hmm. To what degree is there an intoxication with the possibility of even death? I've always wondered about that with extreme sports. I haven't done extreme sports, but I wonder, clearly the people that do that seem to be very intoxicated with life, and to what degree is that intoxication with life connected to the danger that you're very physically in?
Yeah. It's that's a powerful and at times problematic element of the whole deal. It is a dance, and death is real and fairly obvious in our sports. The rocks are hard and I am soft. And that's something that we get to look at every day, which for some people can be a bypass when they just focus on the elation of escaping the death. But it's also a gateway to a really profound sense of your own life and your own mortality, as well as your connection to said rocks. Because I am ultimately made of the same things and came from the same place as the rocks. So to be able to look at and accept my own mortality, whether it be accidental or just from old age, is a deep spiritual practice that I accept as part of my practice in my sports.
Have you had any colleagues or peers that have lost their life or have had significant injury? And if so, how has that impacted you?
Yeah, it's interesting that you asked me that, because it was probably less than 2 months ago that my friend Eric died in an avalanche while we were skiing together.
Wow.
So that's something I've been dealing with a lot recently. And that experience was incredibly profound, and one of the, if not the most profound experience of my life, honestly. A deeply human experience. We were very far into the backcountry, and so it became a long process of getting him and all of his belongings safely back to his family, which was a process that I was intimately involved in. It was an incredibly intimate experience. And ultimately, the experience was a massive gift to my life in shifting. I wouldn't say shifting, more like recentering my perspectives and making me aware of my own mortality and my place in the world, in the universe. And seeing death so closely was somewhat reassuring that I wasn't actually the center of the universe, that maybe since Eric died, that I was still there and things were still going on, that maybe if I died, all of existence wouldn't just shatter into non-existence. And so it was a deeply reassuring experience, and also has made me more ready to be married and have children than I ever have before in my life.
You know, this is interesting that the conversation's gone in this direction. I did not know anything about Eric. It just kind of flowed. But since we're on the topic and you're a philosopher, let's go down this rabbit hole for a minute.
Yeah.
I watched my father through his death when I was 22, and he was my best friend. I watched my mother, who we just saw the photo of, through her death. I watched my wife through her death. My wife died in my arms. And so when we are with people that close, that we're that close to, and we experience the death process, you're right. It's all, those are like the most meaningful moments of my life, pretty much. And it does give us, it's interesting how it shapes our view. And so 2 questions. Tell us more about how that has created the impulse for you to create new life. I'm curious about that. And I'm also curious about if you had connection, because we talk about these things on this show, connection with Eric after he left his body. So there's two little rabbit holes we can go down.
The first thing about my impulse to create more life from it. I think that at the foundation of that is just the like kind of shaking me awake of just my own mortality, that wow, I will die someday. It is just more certain than it had ever been. And that certainty and that clarity, and that I was aging. It was both my mortality and my own aging just so vividly in my perception that I couldn't shake. And it took me a number of months or a number of weeks to kind of integrate that. And it's also so recent. It feels very recent that this experience that I'm talking about here. The second question about my connection to Eric after his death. It was interesting because when I got to him, when I found him, I had this profound experience that I, as a human, kind of like my deep mammal sense, looked at him and just knew that he was dead. And there was another part of me that could like kind of feel him somewhere close. Like he was close, but he wasn't right here. And so it was strange and it was confusing and it was tragic and overwhelming, that experience. The thoughts soon after that moment, as they centered kind of on his girlfriend, his mother, and their grief, I had to like fight back vomiting. Honestly, I was at the edge of my full somatic and psychological overwhelm, and I had to fight that back to maintain my functionality in a moment that I had so much to do. Had just started a journey that was a long and arduous one. But since then, yeah, I feel the other day, this weekend would have been his 34th birthday. I'm 34 years old. And he was very handsome, and we had so many similarities between our mustache and our lifestyles. And so, yeah, I felt very connected to him, and his death was like I said, just an incredible gift to my life. And it's something that I strive to continue to integrate as a way to honor my connection to him and his massive gift to me.
Have you experienced any survivor's guilt?
Oh yeah. Oh, that was a huge thing. Yeah, the survivor's guilt was crazy because not only was I alive, I was completely and totally unscathed physically. And I also have been a professional skier for a long time. Eric was not quite as experienced, and me and my friend Ian had been skiing at that particular place, which is one of the most dangerous places in Oregon to ski. We had been skiing there, Ian for 25 years and me for probably 8. And Ian skied first, I skied second, and Eric skied third. So just the way things set up, that I had just skied down the same slope. There were so many little things that my mind in the aftermath went back to try to cling on to, make sense of, feel guilt from. Yeah, it was crazy.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
It's also interesting that we're here. Here we are. This is quite a rabbit hole I wasn't expecting today.
Neither did I. I mean, so it's interesting. Yeah, but thank you, because death is something we talk a lot about on this show.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of our audience is older. I'm older. I have friends, and because of the nature of my work, you and I are both coaches. I work a lot with people that are dying or their families. And so working with death is really important. So finding a young person like yourself who's been in such a unique situation, again, I had no idea we were going to go any of this. This is
Mhm.
all very spontaneous. But let's talk about survivor's guilt, because it's something that some people have never even heard the term, but it's pretty common. And when someone we are close to dies, there sometimes is survivor's guilt. When a younger sibling dies, there
Mhm.
could be survivor's guilt. But my heavens, you're at the the peak example of that. You know, you
Mhm.
just went down the same slope, and then the avalanche happened, and your friend was lost. And so, um, since we're on that topic for a moment, um, what's your philosophical perspective on it? How do you approach that life circumstance from a philosophical standpoint?
Yeah. Well, I want to invite everyone, if you want to hear kind of more of a deep dive on this particular subject and this experience that I've had, I recorded an episode with Stephen Jenkinson, who is a palliative care practitioner and a death and grief advocate. And he's an incredible author of a book called Die Wise that's been seminal in my understanding of this kind of thing. But one thing that he pointed out to me, because I started asking him, oh, like, there's something different about Eric's death than the people that you work with, because Eric's death was accidental and sudden, and we were trying to avoid it. And the people that you work with know they're going to die. And he dismantled that belief that people who are dying know they're going to die, and that there is anything such as a sudden death. He says that a sudden death is merely when your own perception is that you're not expecting it. But death is all around us, and it has the same frequency as birth. We're not that surprised when people are born. We're much more surprised when people die. And it's become quite obvious to me that my shock with Eric's death is as valid and reasonable as it is. There's a piece of me that has been matured through the experience that is essentially death is real and normal and okay, and that existence persists with or without me and in my body here. So, and it's actually not the first fatality I've dealt with in my sports. And so as I have these experiences, I'm growing a little bit more comfortable with the idea that I will in fact die, and that if I do it accidentally during my sports, there's actually not much difference there.
Mhm.
Humans have died in what we would call accidents forever and ever and ever. Like Cro-Magnon man had accidents of dying, and animals in the wilderness have accidents and die. That's just a normal piece of it. That's a normal part of it. So I think I'm just getting more and more acquainted with death, and the being acquainted with it is simultaneously traumatic and reassuring. It's simultaneously tragic and enlightening. It's a normal piece of the whole thing. And the more connected to death I get, the more connected to life I feel.
Mhm. Um, this is a beautiful conversation, and
Mhm.
given some of the comments coming in from our audience here in the Zoom room. Um, and first off, thank you everybody for the photos you sent of your mothers. It's been really beautiful seeing those. Um, Grace writes, "It sounds like a severe trauma. I had a shock also seeing my ex father-in-law bleed out from a huge rock blow to his head when we were in rural Mexico. Life totally
Wow.
shifted for me then." Reverend Geoffrey reminds us that we do not die. One of our regular guests, Ari, is Danyan Brinkley, who's had multiple near-death experiences. And he's always letting us know we do not die. We just are in another, we wake up in another dimension. There's a question where in Oregon this is, so we'll get to that question in a moment. Eleanor Joy writes, the physical is now gone from our life while we stay on board the train on Earth. And Jeffrey writes back, be sure to learn what you're here to learn. The universe went to a lot of effort to give us the adventure for our soul. Absolutely. Being in these human bodies is such a blessing. Beloved Deborah Juliet writes, there are no accidents. This experience is definitely one of the most precious gifts of your life. You'll get to know who you are from now on, and your friend Eric will be closer to you than he ever was before. Beautiful. Eleanor Joy, Ari, I appreciate all your thoughtful and heartfelt reflections. Your sharing is so profound. Deborah, wonderful. You will expand to your true being, knowing that only the body can die, not you. Grace talking about her father-in-law who bled to death in front of her. As he was dying, I was speaking to him about his family's love for him and God's love for him, and that there was nothing to fear, only total love. And he passed with a peaceful, blissful smile on his face. You know, I'll get to more comments later, but I often share that my wife's last breath was actually the greatest moment of my life. Not that I was losing her physically, of course not. I burst into tears, but there was also, I could feel her liberation because we were so bonded and we were so connected. I could feel the liberation as she left the body. And so it is so profound to have these experiences. And I love what it's triggering, some of the memories and thoughts that it's triggering for people. So thank you for going down this rabbit hole with us, Ari.
Unexpected, but my pleasure.
Let's talk about what does it mean to re-dignify love? What does that mean?
Okay, a little reset here. All right. Okay. Just a little reset. All right. Okay. I think that to answer that question, I would first start to problematize how love lost its dignity. And when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about interpersonal love. And specifically, I think it's helpful if we zoom in on our intimate partnerships. So to be charitable here is really important. I think that one of the things that love lost its dignity doing is making our reproduction as successful as possible. We have used love as a way to pair bond, and pair bonding has proven to be the most effective way to successfully rear children. This is a very important place to start here. Through that evolutionary process, I think that we've onboarded a lot of emotional conditioning around our partnerships that include protections from our insecurities. And those insecurities aren't just our sexual insecurities or our emotional ones, but they are literally our insecurities of the health and well-being of our children and ourselves, physically, emotionally, with their physical needs and shelter and all these different things. And as we onboarded these things, you know, we onboarded jealousy. We onboarded some insecurities that wanted to be protected, and we used love as the way to justify the protection of those insecurities. This is not to say that those insecurities are unreasonable or shameful in any way. It's just to look back at the last 10,000 years. And as we've kind of left our tribal sense of sexuality, our tribal sense of family, our really integrated tribes. And it's to look back and just understand how we've onboarded the emotional baggage and conditioning that we have around our intimate partnerships. And a big part of that is that we've used love as a massive pillar to make our reproduction more successful. And it has served that end 8 billion strong. Okay, it's really, it's a helpful thing to note. So like I said, there's nothing shameful or wrong about this. This is just to look at the isness of our psyche and our evolution here. So that's to say that love lost some of its dignity. I'm not going to say that it's lost all of its dignity, but love has lost some of its dignity by serving that reproductive end. And it looks like using love as a justification for our insecurities to be protected from us, for us to have more consistency in our relationships, to sometimes have control of other people, right? These are ways that we just lose the dignity of love bit by bit in our intimate partnerships. So to re-dignify love, and to touch on re-dignify, this is a term that my friend Mark Gaffney is using a lot lately. And we had a conversation on my podcast that was titled Re-Dignifying Human Need. And I think it's a profound topic because so many of us have lost the sense of dignity around our needs. And so taking the shame away is akin to re-dignifying. So when we love people, there are all kinds of sticky points. If you pay close attention to the experience that you have of loving people and wanting to connect with people and wanting to have your needs met, you will find little sticky points in your expression of love. And those are the places where you can increase the dignity, your feeling of righteousness in feeling love, in expressing love, in having your needs met. So I think that's a kind of a place to start in the conversation of how we lost the dignity of our intimate partnerships and the love that they express and share, and how we might start to look at getting it back.
Beautiful. There's some really wonderful comments coming in, by the way, and I just want to acknowledge Grace and Susan and Dia and Deborah. Thank you so much for all of your comments. Susan, thank you. I've come to believe, Ari, that shame is the great human epidemic. And I'm sure, again, you see this as a coach, how shame just creates such paralysis in people, and shame comes from so many different directions. And it's a totally human experience, because when an infant doesn't know shame, an infant can be making a huge mess all over itself. It doesn't have shame. Is something that we learn. It's something that happens. We are shamed, right? We're shamed in many ways, and so much of our awakening as humanity is re-dignifying love by replacing shame with dignity. Right? And so gosh, there's about four, in my mind, there's about 4 different tracks I could go down right now. I'm trying to choose which track. So I'll ask you, what's an example that you could give either from your own personal life or from your coaching where you have supported either yourself or someone else to make that pivot from the perception or experience of shame into re-dignifying themselves or yourself?
Yeah, it's a beautiful question. Most of my work coaching men follows a similar path to what I found that I went on. I wasn't intentionally trying to go down the path, but I can look back and realize that I had gone somewhere and been on some kind of journey that the place that I am now feels radically different than where I was. So let's give the general example of men in the 20th and 21st century. Men are expected to be tough and to not feel. Okay? They're expected to push down their feelings. And in doing so, they internalize the idea that their feelings are shameful. They're the opposite of dignified. So the path that I try to guide men on is to re-dignify their own feelings so that they can understand what their needs are, right? Which is a thing that, Scott, I watched a video of yours that you so eloquently put, that feelings are important. It's important for you to learn how to feel your feelings so that they can point you towards your needs. Okay. If we're talking about the concept of love, if you can't love your own needs, then you can't love yourself. You have needs that are literally expressions of the universe, right? Like that you have a body that has evolved to need food, air, water, shelter. Those are just the most literal manifestations of the shape of the universe. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So men typically don't have any qualms with feeling their hunger, but they might have qualms about feeling their insecurities. So re-dignifying your own needs, re-dignifying your own feelings is essentially the path of being able to love yourself and love the place that you are holding in the universe and in existence. Right?
Beautiful.
It's kind of a tangential answer, and I almost have forgotten the question, but
well, first of all, I want to just anchor in Marshall Rosenberg, who I had the great pleasure to travel and actually teach with and learn from directly. Really the most important mentor of my life in terms of relationship teaching and coaching.
Mine too.
Marshall taught us that all of, where we get lost, coming back to shame for a moment, shame comes from the mind. Shame is a judgment, right? It's mental judgment. Shame on you, I'm judging you, or shame on myself. Oh my God, I'm so whatever. People often, we've talked about guilt today a little bit, we've talked about shame, and wonderful delineation is guilt is when we feel bad about something we did. Shame is when we feel bad about who we think we are.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but that all is happening in the mind. It's a judgment, it's projection. And Marshall taught us that our thoughts are highly suspect and our judgments are always projections. But what is true is our feelings in the moment, and underneath all of our feelings are our precious needs, the beautiful needs that drive us. And you could use the word needs, values, longings, desires. And that's what drives us. And when our needs or our desires or our longings are met, we have comfortable feelings. And when they're not met, we have uncomfortable feelings. And so again, a wonderful way to re-dignify love is to notice, when are we having a judgment of ourself or of another? When are we even having a shameful thought about ourself or another? And then drop deeper into, what are we actually feeling? And what is it we're actually longing for? And learning to live in the reality of feelings and needs is when we transcend the judgmental mental bullshit that is all permeating this culture, and drop into the truth of what is. And our feelings, whether they're comfortable or uncomfortable, are always real in the moment. They're not arguable. If you're sad, you're sad. If you're happy, you're happy. It's not arguable. And if you're sad because you're missing Eric in the moment, so your need for connection with Eric in that moment isn't being met the way you want, that's not arguable. And if you're happy because you're remembering Eric and the love and the bond that you still have, that's not arguable. What we're longing for is never arguable. And what we're feeling is never arguable. And because that's truth, that is the real truth. So as we're kind of having this philosophical conversation, I like that you brought feelings and needs into how we re-dignify love, because that is real love. Real love is when I can be present with you. Even if you're having uncomfortable feelings, I can be present to your anger. I can be present to your sadness. And that's real. That's love in a healthy, mature way.
Yeah, I think that the most simple way that's very actionable that I could put it is, if you want to re-dignify love, then you can onboard nonviolent communication into your life. It's the surest framework, and I think that there are likely others, and it's not the framework itself that has the power, but it is the power of your own awareness to acknowledge your feelings and needs and to connect with other people's feelings and needs, that has the transformational power. And it undoes so much of our conditioning, and I don't actually think it undoes it. It actually just shows us our conditioning. It shows our judgments. It shows our feelings. It shows our unmet needs. It shows us all of our anger and resentment and all of the things that are the sticky, shameful pieces of our lives. It's incredibly helpful, and so when I found your work, it was so obvious that you were teaching exactly Marshall Rosenberg's framework, and that you knew him personally is a conversation that I'm excited to have with you in the future.
He was beautiful. He was a beautiful man and very human. I traveled with him for 3 weeks. I was hired to do a series of videos with him and a television show with him. So I had my camera, and we met in Corona del Mar in Southern California, and spent 3 weeks traveling all the way up the West Coast. He had a whole tour planned, and we ended up in Seattle, Washington, where he was working with the Freedom Project, a group of recently released ex-cons, teaching them nonviolent communication. And that's where I learned, well, I'm about to go down another rabbit hole. I learned so much from him. I learned so much from Marshall. And he was also very human. He would talk honestly about, what would trigger him. He didn't have himself up on a pedestal at all. He was very, very, very human. And we lost him too early. We lost Marshall too early. He literally was one of those people who, I believe one of the reasons he did pass at such an early age was he did not take care of his body. He was so committed to his work, and he was traveling all over the world and basically living on airport food, because he was traveling so much, because he couldn't turn down an invitation. Anybody who invited him, please come speak, please come to a presentation, he would go there. Even if they couldn't afford to pay for him, he would go there on his own funds. And his dedication to getting this work out there was so profound. Anyway, thank you, Marshall. Thank you. I'll put into the chat box a beautiful story about Marshall, and I'll send it to you privately also, Ari, that when he passed, I shared this story. I was teaching at a conference, and he just passed, and I shared this story about him, and it's very beautiful. So I'll put that in the chat box. All right. Gosh, we're already at an hour. Excuse me, I'm losing my throat here just talking about Marshall. Tell us about your work coaching. Tell us about Ari the Coach.
Yeah, it's an interesting shift that I've had recently. I've taught people, and mostly men, how to do all kinds of the most dangerous things in the world, and now find myself teaching men how to do something even scarier, which is to feel their feelings and let themselves know themselves and start communicating with other people clearly from where they are at. And it's a beautiful thing. I am pretty language centric, if you can't tell. And so my shtick is mostly through communication. And I think that provides enormous benefit because it allows you to see your own self-talk, how the narrator inside of your head talks about the outside world and yourself, and all kinds of things. And it also helps people learn about their needs, learn to set boundaries, learn to communicate clearly and nonviolently, learn to hear no, dignifies their own triggers, allows them to hold space for other people when other people are triggered, allows them to hold space for people when they're going through grief and bereavement. The amount of platitudes that will come your way as you deal with grief are just too many to name. And so my work as a coach is incredibly rewarding. I end up coaching myself as I coach other people, which is really so helpful. And it's just amazing to be able to celebrate with these men who I work with when they have huge breakthroughs in their lives with their own communication. Because as you can imagine, when you focus on your communication, it affects every single relationship in your life. It affects your relationship with your boss. It affects your relationship with your partner, with your children, with your friends. So it is a path of sensitivity, learning to feel yourself and learning to become sensitive to other people. And it's a path of courage that allows you to share those things and listen to them. It takes courage to listen to your feelings and to feel them and to acknowledge your own needs. And so it's a beautiful thing to encourage other people, and it has a reciprocal effect on myself that when I encourage other people, I feel encouraged myself. So it's a beautiful path. And I feel, talking to you, I've only just begun.
Have you noticed, Ari, that sometimes you'll be coaching people and the very issues you're helping them with are the issues that are up in your own life?
Yeah, I try to be as aware of that as possible, because I think that it can be both serendipitous and like a projection, that whatever I'm dealing with, I just have this lens in front of my head that whatever I talk to my client about, that I'm just going to see my problem in them. And that's where a lot of reflection, like a good, solid, active listening, just like is the first half of nonviolent communication, a good, solid, active listening where I can repeat back to someone what I'm hearing them say. So to the point that they say, yes, that is I feel heard. Yes, I feel like you understand me. And only then can I begin to validate and or advise.
Mhm.
So yeah, but basically whenever any client shares with me what they're going through, the first thing that pops up in my head is what I'm going through. Of course, as is the case with all of us.
Yeah, yeah. It's a thing as a coach for sure. One last thing that I just wanted to mention is probably everybody watching this show wants to see the world change.
Mhm.
And as Marshall taught, if you want to change the world, change your relationships, because that's what we have impact over. We do not have impact over what Putin or Trump or Biden do, but we have tremendous impact over how we treat each other, whether it's our family, our friends, the people we work with, or the people we just interact with out in the world. And so changing our relationships is how we change the world. And when I first met Marshall and I understood that, that's when I dedicated the rest of my life to working on relationships. Because Ari, I agree. We're going to do a podcast together. I'll definitely let the audience know when and how they can watch that. And a few things, I'm going to share a couple things with people. First off, since we've been talking a lot about Marshall, I did put into the chat box this YouTube link of my tribute to Marshall. And for you people watching on Facebook, come into the Zoom room. But since you're not in the Zoom room yet, just Google. If you Google Scott Katamas and Marshall Rosenberg, that'll come up for you. Or go to YouTube and you'll find it there. I also want to show people where you can find out all about Ari's Coaching with Men. Again, I put this link in the chat box, but for those of you who are watching on Facebook or YouTube, it's airyintheair.com/coaching. airyintheair.com/coaching. And definitely, check out the wonderful work that he's doing. And I see here you're offering a free call. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the free calls are a way just to meet people and hear about their lives and see what they're dealing with, and to hopefully give them some encouragement and the foundational tools that I use in my work that really anyone can use on their own. It's always helpful to have a guide, but the tools are for anyone.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Ari, and feel free to stick around for the second half of our show, the second part of our show. And I'm going to read just a few comments that have come in from our audience. Deborah Juliet reminds us of what Thich Nhat Hanh taught: presence equals awareness equals love. Going back a little bit, when we were talking about shame, Dia Therese reminded us that shame is a frequency just above apathy. It's very low in frequency in the scale that was, of course, created. And so shame, therefore, activates fewer portals of our DNA, which stops us from living joyfully. Grace Denise wrote, imprints of humiliation and shame all are lies from damaging words and circumstances that we may unfortunately have encountered as children. They are never truth, but they can run deep. Dignity comes from mutuality and reciprocity and friendship-based love. And friendship-based love built on the freedom gained from healing from our childhood wounds, emotional and mental, as well as physical and sexual. And yes, that's why it's good to have a coach like Ari, or as many of the coaches you've met on my shows, because we do a lot of shows, Ari, with coaches coming on. Evolutionary healthier DNA no longer requires rape and conquest, since today love-based voluntary intermarriage is possible worldwide, along with the recognition of our common humanity. Susan wrote, the dignity subject is very important and well articulated. And I'll finish with this comment from Beatrice. She says, I love synchronicity. Earlier this morning, I asked a question to the universe, and it's a question I've asked countless times over the last 19 years since my husband's sudden death. Did he know he was going to crash into the mountain that night? I asked myself, why am I asking this question again this morning? And now I know. Thank you, Ari and Scott, for this meaningful conversation. So that is beautiful synchronicity, isn't it? All right. Well, thank you again, Ari. Yeah, there's the Hawkins scale. Charlotte Frank just brought it up, so I'll bring it up. The Hawkins scale from David Hawkins is all about the various levels of consciousness. And as you can see, shame is at the very, very bottom, absolute bottom. So may we all re-dignify love and notice where we still might have parts of shame. And, you know, a lot of the shame area is epigenetic. You know, I do believe, that's a whole other rabbit hole, but, you know, I do believe that part of our job, all of us watching, is that we have the opportunity to not only heal our own wounding and our own misbeliefs, but that we also are doing the work for our ancestors. As paying it forward, because our ancestors made incredible sacrifices. They fought in the wars, they traveled the plains and the oceans, they worked 3 jobs with just one goal, a better life for us. And the freedom that we have, the abundance that we have, is because of our ancestors. And so with that freedom, now we get to do the work of healing our ancestors, which includes a lot of shame based on their lives and what we brought with us. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. I think we have, I've actually realized in the last number of years that my judgments are quite temporally shallow, like that my judgments of people who are drunk or poor or morbidly obese or violent tend to be shallow on their one lifetime. And it seems more evident the more I live that we are all handed a certain, as you said, an epigenetic, a certain trauma that is intergenerational, and that trauma is so powerful in how it affects how we show up in the world, our strengths and our weaknesses and our sufferings and all of the different ways our pathologies manifest. And so I think as I live, I'm growing a little bit more compassionate to a longer scale of time for how it affects how people's behavior and lives manifest.
Beautiful. Well, that triggers another Marshall Rosenberg teaching. So I actually asked Marshall, because he said that underneath all of our judgments are unmet needs. He says, well, how about if somebody's just being blatantly judgmental and saying, oh my God, that person is so ugly. He said, well, that person's not meeting your value for beauty. So that's an interesting perspective as you bring it up. And then what I would say is when you're feeling guilty, because underneath all of our guilt, you can actually always find care. So if you're feeling guilty for judging someone for being obese, for example, underneath that, you can find the care that isn't being met because you see that they're not taking care of themselves. So it's like there's the layers. There's the initial projection judgment. Oh my God, that person's so obese. And then, oh God, there I go again. I'm judging this person. And underneath that is the care for another human being who's suffering. Suffering. So there's some layers that we can work with. I know I could talk to you for days. And I'm going to be spending more time in Oregon, so I'll try and make my way up to Bend to meet you.
I would love that. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for being with us.
Yeah, man.
Perry in the air. Thank you so much.
See you guys. Thank you.
All right, well, we're going to do a little transition. And as you know, we love to do light touch. For those of you watching that don't know about light touch, it's a wonderful way to kind of just awaken the senses and be sacred. You know, this is the Sacred Sunday edition of the Awakening World. And it's non-denominational, but the idea is that we can make any moment sacred just by redignifying love, by finding the sanctity. And so I'm going to play a little video that Jay sent me. Jay Mayer, founder of Light Touch, sent me last night. And as we watch this video, enjoy the graphics. Jay loves to create lots of graphics and visuals, and maybe even do a little bit of light touch as we kind of acknowledge the beauty of our body temples that our Mother Earth and our human mother blessed us with. And then we'll go to the second part of our show, all from Sri Ram.
Dreams come true. Dreams come true.
Miracle blessing, miracle blessings, miracle blessings.
Thank you for the miracle blessing. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Jay Mayer, for that transition from one part of the show to the next part of the show. Most of our Zoom roomers know Sri Ram. He and his partner Kira are down in Ecuador, and they've been on the show many times. And they do a wonderful show every Sunday morning before the show at 9 a.m. with Omashar playing music. And they have, they're very, Sri Ram is very into the David Hawkins work. It's interesting that it came up earlier in a different context, because he's really all about that. And he's all about ascension and providing tools for ascension. And they, along with the Twin Ray and many of our favorite presenters, are helping us to all ascend. It is all about creating the awakening world. And so Sri Ram sent me some Egyptian rods. I'll show them to you in a moment. But I'm going to play a pair of videos that he created just for today. He knows that we're showing them today. And so here we go with an introduction to these wonderful tools for ascension. And a big thank you to Sri Ram for his love of humanity, his love of our Awakening World Global Peace Tribe audience, in taking the time to create these videos for us. And I'm going to show them. Here we go. Let's go.
One of the wonderful qualities of the Egyptian healing rods is that not only do they awaken your potential as a being of cosmic energy, they also help instruct you how to use that energy in a useful manner. it's really important to recognize that your consciousness has power. Now, consciousness alone will not affect the physical unless there is an energy component. So to have an idea is really good, but to be charged up over your idea is better, right?
Right.
If you want to manifest something, we need passion. So clarity plus passion equals manifestation, right? So the Egyptian healing rods, then, if you're working on a physical issue, and I'll tell you about emotional issues in a moment. Physical is really the easiest. Hold the rods, breathe in, get yourself lifted into that communion. You start to feel a little tingle maybe. Then bring your attention to any physical issue and direct your breath or your attention. Usually when I direct my breath, my attention goes there automatically. Like, let's say I have a little tummy ache. I bring my breath down to my belly and imagine that I'm breathing in and out of the belly. And lift and relax the belly. Get super aware of your stomach.
Okay.
And then hold the image of it operating perfectly. Just kind of hold. Remember a time in your life where your stomach was a non-issue. Everything was calm and beautiful. And you just kind of remember that, and you're breathing that in and out of the stomach area whilst holding the rods. And this energy plus your sacred intention plus your natural emotional desire to be healed and at peace, they all synergize, and the healing happens so much quicker than normal.
Okay.
With respect to an emotional issue, when you have a hurt, the first thing to do is do not pick up the rods if you're really triggered, because we don't want to amplify that
Right.
spin.
Right.
Right? We don't want to amplify the Velcro. But when you are just about at the point where you kind of go, okay, yeah, I was really triggered, and I'm owning, my hurt, and I'm owning my anger. Now pick up the rods and breathe peace and declare, I now unconditionally forgive, fill in the blank, for having stimulated this discomfort in me. I've released them now. With sincerity, I'm forgiving them.
Yeah.
But then add, I now unconditionally forgive myself for my role in this hurtful interaction. Forgive yourself. Forgiveness always has two sides, doesn't it? And then breathe in and relax and be at peace. And if what you're working on involved an institution, involves something bigger than just me and thee, add one more declaration. Add in, I now forgive God and the universe for creating a world where one could suffer as I have suffered.
Beautiful.
And then in that sweetness, we just move into grace. We just let go of the judgment that it should have been different. Let's heal. We're wiser. Let's move on.
Nice. Nice. Very nice.
So that's how I like to use these with the emotional piece. But again, I don't want to add energy to the spin cycle, to the Velcro. You got to get a little bit past that. You got to do, use the tools you already have, then move into the greater expression. So that's how these tools can really help us create a society of empowered beings that can heal themselves, that can love themselves and love each other into a new harmony. And this is the world that we want to support.
Aho.
Thank you.
So just to give context, here they are. And I see that Dia Therese has her rods. She's been holding them. So I did a series, Shri sent these to me as a gift. And I then recorded his describing how to work with them, how to use them. And so then I took those recordings, sent them to him, and he did the editing out of the music and some of the images that you see. And Dia, do you have your rods? I saw you were holding them a moment ago, so I'm going to put Dia on the spotlight for a moment. There they are. Is there anything you'd like to share about your experience of working with them? Would you be willing to unmute and share? Is there anything you want to share? I haven't set this up with her in advance, so I don't know if you feel comfortable with that, Dia. Hi.
Oh, I do. Thank you for the opportunity. This is a precious item in my life. These were free spots. Which, gave them to me up in Ecuador. And we were there at the commemoration of the 7-story high Peace Pyramid in September last year. And what I learned over the 3-4 years of being aware of these is that everything that Shri is bringing forth in that beautiful short video is indeed, it's just meaningful for all of my lives that I spent in the Pharaonic era, and the meaningfulness in activating what it is I want more of in my life, and that is the joy, and that I have to passionately activate these, not use them with the when I am upset or angry, and then to calm myself and then use them to activate the joy. So I'm so grateful to be a part of revisiting those lifetimes in Egypt. Thank you, Scott.
Beautiful. Thank you, Dia. Thank you so much. They are available. The Egyptian rods are available. I'll put the link into the chat box. Or for anybody who's watching on Facebook, well, here, I'll go there real quickly. You can find it at EgyptianHealingRods.com. EgyptianHealingRods.com. When these were first sent to me, I happened to be visiting my friend Jonathan Robinson. Jonathan is a best-selling author. He wrote the best-selling book all about tools for ascension. He's also all about enlightenment. He wrote the Enlightenment Project. And I said, check these out. What do you think? And he's very tuned in. He's much more sensitive about these things than I am. And he said, whoa, these are amazing. So much so that he said, can I keep these? And I said, okay. And so then I asked Sri Ram, and Sri Ram sent me a second set. Jonathan still every day now works with them. And likewise, I hold them while I'm doing my meditation. I find that they really help to balance my energies. As a coach, a lot of the times, most of my clients are dealing with difficult stuff. And so when I really feel with my clients, I cry with them, I feel their energy. And to clear my space, I'll get the rods and I'll hold them and I'll just kind of use them for a few minutes to clear my space and come back to center. So they are truly a tool for ascension. And I'm going to play another video that was part of my interview with Shri. And this goes into greater detail of how they work. Again, this is all about the awakening world, and like last night's show was about the Holo movement. Definitely watch it if you can. We earlier were talking about politics. So there's all these different ways that we can create greater awakening. And I believe in these Egyptian rods, and that's why I'm dedicating part of today's show to understanding more about them. Here we go.
So by way of just kind of the overall understanding, and then there are specific nuances for the different sets. There's 10 different recipes of these healing rods, but beginning with what they all have in common. The sun rod goes in the right hand. That's the copper rod. And that rod is carrying the positive pulse, the positive charge. These are like batteries, this positive and negative. The negative, or the yin, or the moon rod, goes in your left hand, which is the receptive side of the body. The rods themselves then set up an energetic connection with your palm chakras. And so that's why you want to, when you first pick them up, give them a squeeze, say, hello, I'm here, you know, and then you can kind of just relax. You've made contact. Now, as a side note, you can do the same with your feet. You can put the copper rod under your right foot, the zinc rod under your left foot, put them in the arches, roll them a little bit. It really feels good. You want to be barefoot to do that perfectly. Yeah, it's really great when you're at the computer. You can be circulating this clearing energy. You can have, your hands are free to do the magic finger thing and type and say hello to folks, or even if you're doing a session. I literally had a guy who was an executive I was coaching, and he would always come to me for the weekly sessions with whatever his problem of the week was. And when I first got the rods, he came in, we said hi. I said, here, I want you to just hold these. Don't do anything but breathe. And I left him alone. I put on some music. And then a couple of minutes later, I said, okay, now tell me what it is you are here to solve. And he said, I already did it. You know, the clarity came in. So, you know, what this does when you connect is it amplifies the energy flowing through the meridians that then lead to the chakras. So all the chakras will open, and how quickly they balance and open into their fullness depends on the set of rods you have. So the basic set of rods, the primary ones, the foundation ones, are called rods Kant, after Kant Stefan Wolinski. And that means count, but they preserve the Russian name, K-O-N-T. And he was the one, he was a Rosicrucian, who wrote down the formula, handwritten, of what's inside these and how to use them. And that was only rediscovered back in the 50s or 60s. And that's what prompted my friends in Russia to go to Egypt and verify that what he wrote was true. So the rods Kant are a magnetic set, meaning they don't have quartz crystals in them. They have actual magnetic material in them that has then been amped up in the pyramid. So the pyramid, what it does, you can put whatever you want in a piece of tubing and it'll have some energy. And if you stuff quartz crystals into tubing, you're going to go, oh yeah, I feel some energy. Well, yeah, it's just the quartz. But when you put it in the pyramid for one moon cycle, the molecular structure changes, the energy becomes coherent and resonates higher than the human being. And that's why people get healing results, is this frequency is lifting them out of the zone of interaction that created their problems. Just like Einstein points out, you need a solution, you got to move to a new level of consciousness. So the rods Kant were developed for people who are having physical issues. They're more for the body than for consciousness, but if you hold them for 45 minutes, they'll open the upper chakras. But 45 minutes is a long time for some people. Whereas the rods you're holding, you hold them for 5 minutes and they open the upper chakras. And so most people who are, you know, in the more new age, you know, conscious path community go, now give me the fast ones, you know, that's what they want. But here's why I'm sharing this. The rods Kant will lower blood pressure. People who have clinically diagnosed problems that are taking blood pressure meds, if you put the rods Kant in their hands and have them hold them every other day for 10 minutes, they'll start to wean off their medicine and may completely release it. I've had many, many cases of people that said, well, my doctor says I only need to take half a pill now. Wow. Simply because of the energy of the rods Kant. And the other thing they do is they balance the organs of the body. So there's your foundation level, good for everybody and anybody, children, adults, doesn't matter, rods, con. You've
Okay.
got crystals, so I'll get to you in a second. The next one up is called rods quartz. And those are the ones we found in the tombs of the pharaohs. When the archaeologists were in Egypt, you know, that, and there's a picture at the website, but basically they found the corroded copper tube with no end cap, and they went, oh, desert sand, and they dumped it all out, and then they sent it to the Metropolitan Museum in New York. They dumped out the magic. So the rods quartz actually are filled with quartzite, little small salt and pepper sized quartz crystals. And what they do after they've been in the pyramid is the energy lifts and it radiates a cocoon, an embrace all around you. And your auric field will go out to about 30 feet wide in around 20 minutes, which is a nice meditation time. So the rods quartz are very good. They actually increase blood pressure. So that's why I'm giving you these two caveats. People who have high blood pressure, you start them on the Kant rods. People who are needing help with their body, whether it's diabetes or arthritis, we want to increase circulation. We want the body to exchange, you know, the fluids and heal itself. The rods quartz actually lift your blood pressure a little bit, increase circulation, and so did the rods crystal, because one is small quartz and the other is points, big quartz. So the only contraindication is some women find that during their cycle, their flow will increase.
Okay.
And most people, I haven't had any negative feedback except from just a very few that say, well, I'm a person that has a rather heavy flow to begin with. I can't touch the rods for about 4 days. They increase circulation, which is a healthy thing. You're improving that fluid exchange. So that's the rods quartz. By the way, the frequency is 3rd and 4th chakra for rods quartz. For the rods Kant, the frequency is 1st and 2nd chakra. Now we go to the rods crystal that you're holding and the ones I'm holding also. These come in about 3 different flavors, meaning 3 different frequencies and focuses. The rods crystal actually have crystal points inside. And a point, you may already know this about crystals, a crystal, each face on the crystal carries it's like a slot of focus for energy. So some people teach you can put a positive intention and you hold it in your mind and you touch your fingers to one face of the crystal and you charge the crystal with that, I want that abundance. And then you go to another face and you say, I want my perfect partner, and you hold the vision of perfect partner while rubbing the face and you charge the face. That's charging the crystal to manifest something is a practice that's been around a while. What we do in the pyramid is we lift the frequency of the crystal into love and peace. That means I am available for the highest good. That's, if you want to, and it's not actually programmed, it's the nature of the pyramid. The pyramid itself is holding the frequency of love. In the case of the Russian pyramid, it's right up at the love joy frequency. And in the case of my pyramid in Ecuador, it's at the peace frequency. And we're starting to produce stuff here. But right now, everything that you have came from the giant pyramid in Russia. So it's the energy of love and joy. Love and joy, as you know, are healing. When people move into their happiness, when they move into their joy, suddenly life's problems just, you know, they don't overwhelm you anymore. You find solutions and navigate. So part of the thing that's fun is they enter in at the 5th, 6th, and 7th chakra, depending on which set you get. Yours are 6, 7. The standard crystals come in at 5, 6. You have the star consciousness ones, which open up the 7th. They're really good for meditation, really good for communion with your guides.
That's how you usually use these. I wake up in the morning and I prop myself up and I hold them as I meditate.
Beautiful. And what they're doing is they're providing you with safety to be in that communion as well. So those rods are called the rods of star consciousness. They're similar to the crystal twos. So we have crystal, crystal two, and star consciousness. Those are the crystalline ones. The crystal two actually have a little more punch than the ones you have, but the frequency is not as high. So remember, there's a difference between frequency and volume. Like a teeny tiny little quartz crystal can hold a very high frequency, but it doesn't have any punch. People won't even feel it. Unless you're super, super sensitive and you can tune in and you go, oh yeah, this one's holding that super high frequency. So that's the difference between the crystal twos and the crystal stars. The crystal stars that you are meant for you. The crystal twos are meant for group work. Doesn't mean you can't do this in group work, but the crystal twos have a little more punch. They'll happen quicker. The one thing that we have tested through Kirlian photography and energy testing is every single set of rods, if held long enough, will open all chakras and give you a complete magnification of your potential. Meaning it'll help call in your higher potential. The big energy field, I'm at peace, I'm radiating love, my wisdom seems to be more available, that clarity that comes in when everything's in the zone. And so this is why the archangelic realm refers to these as the wands of ascension. Is ascension at its basic level is becoming that divine conduit that knows who you are as a divine being and is in the clarity that I am beyond this body, I am beyond this world, and I am in service to this body and in service to this world. And once we begin to anchor in that ascended consciousness, our entire life experience starts to shift from I'm at effect versus I'm at cause. When people are at lower levels of consciousness, meaning more normal levels, they often get tripped up by life experiences. They get bummed out, they get triggered, shit happens. I get victimized or I'm having bad luck. Those are the emotional qualities that are common with the common frequencies, mass consciousness. As people begin to do their healing work, as they do their emotional growth work, as they surrender in meditation and receive inspiration, their frequency naturally lifts in the 400s and up and touching into the 500s. And now you are at cause in your life. You at least you have that potential should you choose to exercise it. A lot of people lift their frequency but forget to change their thinking. And so they're repeating the same old stuff, but they're fun to be around because they have a nice frequency.
I've dated some of those girls.
I think we nothing new here. It's just let's get clear. So as we work with the Egyptian healing rods, we lift our frequency and we discover the potential to do what the Egyptians recorded as commanding the future, communing with the gods. And that's what's written in some of the hieroglyphs. And this is why originally the rods were just for the pharaohs and the priests. And then later on, as society stabilized, they produced the rods for the entire society.
I see. Okay.
But initially it was kind of a privileged thing. And I have no judgment around that. What I do know is that until we feel safe with each other, we don't want someone to have more power if we don't trust them.
Right.
When there's trust, then everything is really easy to share. When there's a lack of trust, there's inhibition. So society as a whole has to heal into a trust place. So that's the basics. Now, so it's lower chakras, middle chakras, upper chakras as the point of entry. As you hold them, the energy comes in and it goes up and down the spine. So if you hold the rods you have will heal the body because the energy goes down to the lower chakras as it is simultaneously opening the uppers. So if you're having a physical issue, let's say you have a bruise or a bump, work with the rods, meaning breathe, connect with them, then visualize the energy going to the injured part of your body, and you will accelerate your capacity to command a healing.
Mm.
Now, we have a set of rods that I only made open to the public last year in 2022. They're called the quantum rods. And I don't want to spend too much time on them because they're out of reach for most people to appreciate. So from a sales standpoint, no big deal. Once somebody has rods for a while and they work with them, they'll go, tell me about those other ones.
Okay.
The quantum rods, literally, you can fold, you go into the antiverse. You can open and fold energy fields. You get into the space between the molecules. Takes a little practice, but what they do is they open up that capacity so that you can practice your mastery. I had one of our students, half a dozen years ago, broke her foot. She went in, she got the x-ray, the foot was broken, and she was at one of those speedy clinic places, and she didn't have the money to get anything done. She just got the x-ray, and the doctor says, come on back tomorrow, we'll put it in the cast, here's a temporary, So she sat down with her quantum rods that evening and in the morning, and then when she went back tomorrow, they x-rayed her again, and they go, you don't have a fracture. She said, I knew it was true, but I had to prove it to myself.
Wow.
She knitted the bones together through those 2 sessions.
Wow.
Not everybody can do that, okay? So we don't advertise this.
Yeah.
It's a relationship with your power and the frequency required to execute the power.
Okay.
It's like your meditation masters or your Indian gurus. Some of them levitate, some of them can transmute and manifest stuff. And the goal isn't to become a magician. The goal is to be your highest potential.
Yeah.
And sometimes a signal of that potential is spontaneous healing.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes a signal is you're able to put your arms around another being and your frequency lifts them right out of the crap they were in. That's why, Amma, the hugging guru, part of her darshan is, I love you, and you remember to love yourself, and all of a sudden everything's better.
I've received many a hug from Mama.
Beautiful.
Good.
So,
well, thank you.
Yeah, so that's the quick overview.
Okay.
When Kira and I lived in the States, we went to the New Age shows, Conscious Life Expo, New Living Expo, that kind of thing. And we would present our work on self-ascension, and we would always have a booth for the rods.
Mm-hmm.
Because the rods are just a pure tool. And in the hands of a conscious being, they will support you. They naturally activate your spiritual DNA. Most people find after using them for around a year, they outgrow them. The rods themselves don't change. Like the earlier sets that I used to enjoy, I don't pick them up anymore. I've gone to the higher sets.
Right.
Because your body remembers you've evolved. It's like having a coach who says, okay, here's the frequency, here's the frequency. And the nice thing about the rods is they remember where you left off. So like in your meditation, you might have a particularly sweet meditation where you're just really out there and losing all time and self-consciousness. The rods remember that frequency. And so when you pick them up again, it'll be you more easily attain that blissful state.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Well, there you have it. They really are a beautiful tool, and we're all going to be on this path together as we really experience the awakening world. I had an amazing week up in Ashland, Oregon with the Twin Ray fact, a week ago today was when I spent a day with them. And I really believe what they have to say. And there's going to be so much change over the next year or two. And we're all going to stay together as global peace tribers and sharing in this great awakening together. And so I do want to continue to share tools like the rods with all of you, as well as all the other teachings, and that's what the awakening world is all about. So one more time, I did put into the chat box the link where you can, and I'll copy that again, where you can order, and make sure you use that link because it's got a coupon that is going to give all of you, I think it's a 30% discount. So definitely use that link. I'm putting it in. And for those watching on Facebook, you could send me a message on Facebook Messenger, and I'll, if you have any questions about this, let me know, and I'll send you the link that way as well. All right, everybody. Well, thank you. What an interesting show. We really went down a different direction than I was imagining with Ari. What a beautiful man, and what a beautiful conversation. So, as always, we open and we close with Shar. Hey, bro.
Hey, there we are. Well, yeah, what an interesting juxtaposition. And I loved Aries sharing. What an inspirational, solid, grounded man he is. And nice to see Shri. What a beautiful artist he is on the video. So that really spiced it up nicely. And so here we are, Mother's Day. It's going to be Mother's Day all day. And so here's a song called Holy Mother.
Oh, perfect.
Just because it has mother in the title, so what the heck. And what the goddess. So. Holy Mother, my heart longs to be free. Holy Mother, dissolve me into thee. Holy Mother, please purify my mind. Holy Mother, let me feel your love divine. Holy Mother, Holy Mother, Holy Mother, Holy Mother, Holy Mother, hold my hand within your hand. Holy Mother, let me feel all that I am. Holy Mother, my heart longs to be free. Holy Mother, dissolve me into thee. Holy Mother, Holy Mother, Holy Mother, Holy Mother, Holy Mother, please purify my mind. Holy Mother, let me feel your love divine. Holy Mother, Holy Mother, Holy Mother, Holy Mother, hold my hand within your hand. Holy Mother, let me feel all that I am. One more time. Holy Mother, Holy Mother, Holy Mother. Holy Mother, Holy Mother, my heart longs to be free. Holy Mother, Holy Mother, dissolve me into thee. Yes.
Woo-hoo-hoo. Thank you, Eleanor Joy and Dia Teresa, Nadora, Lynn Leaf, Reverend Jeffrey, for all your dancing. And of course, thank you, beloved Omashar.
You're welcome. And in the chat, there's actually a photo of it back of my Holy Mother. I don't know if you saw that.
Way back in the chat earlier when people were posting their mothers.
Yes, my mum is
Let's
there.
go find that. Here's
holding
Adora's mother. Okay, well, let's take a look at some of the mothers that. So this is Adora's mother.
Yes, it's just a couple above Adora's mother. Isn't she adorable?
But we want to acknowledge Adora's mother.
She
Beautiful,
looks lovely.
Adora. And I'm scrolling. Here's Charlotte and her mother. So hang on a second. It takes me a minute to do this. Here is Charlotte and her mother. We love you, Charlotte.
Yay.
Charlotte's mother overlooking her daughter there. That's
Looks like your sister, Charlotte.
yep, exactly. And then here's Susan Bloomquist's mother. Blessings to you, Susan Bloomquist's mother. Thank you. But wait, there's more. Let's see. Here is Omashar's mother. Here's Mrs. Omashar. Mama Omashar.
Mrs. Omashar. Yay. All our mothers. How beautiful.
Oh, that is beautiful.
And we had yours earlier too.
And I see that Dia is holding a picture up of her mother. So Dia, oh wow, look at that. That's a classic.
Isn't it?
That is a classic. Wow, thank you, Dia. All right, well, blessings to all the mothers. And
I see that Ari is still with us. I don't know if he's off camera, but
yeah. Hang on, Frode is holding up a picture of his mother or his family. Look at that.
There's Mama there.
Wow, there she is.
Yeah.
Thank you, Frode in Norway. Thank you for that.
Looking very Norwegian there, Frode.
It's beautiful. Wow.
Lutefisk for breakfast.
Well, let's close with the picture of the mother we all share. There she is. This is the mother that we all share, our beloved Mother Earth Gaia. And so in closing today's show, let's remember to honor our mother, our true mother, our human mothers, and also our human and our beloved Earth Mother. And thank you, everybody, for being with us. It's been another wonderful week on the Awakening World. And I'll go to gallery view so we can wave and say goodbye. And I hope to see all of you next week. We've got 3 more great shows starting on Wednesday night, all about family constellations. Take care, everybody. Happy Mother's Day.